Hey guys, my name is Larry and welcome to Military Stories. So this week I'm going to be talking about a raid that we went on in Iraq, one of the first raids on my second deployment. And it was actually the first time that we took contact or that I was shot at and rounds landed right by me. It was a pretty significant raid. This was a huge raid that our whole company was involved with. So I wanted to tell that story today. So I started this channel because, I like hearing military stories. I listen to podcasts and stuff, and it's like normally all I see is like, Special Forces, Navy SEALs, and, I feel like the regular Army Infantry stories, there's not a lot of them out there. So, I have a lot of stories from my experience in the military, after the military, and so I'm sharing my stories in this way. And so, hopefully each week it's something interesting that you guys will find interesting. Every story I tell is 100% true. I have no reason to make things up. I have no reason to exaggerate. I'm telling these stories as I remember them. If you like them, cool. If not, so be it. I'm just letting you know that these are verifiable, real stories that happened in my life. And, I have a good amount. Every time I think of an idea, I write it down. And then like for the next week, whatever I remember, I write down details so that, when I tell this story, I remember all the details. That way it's just not spinning off the top of my head. But so if you're new here, please subscribe if you'd like to hear more military stories, tips, advice about the military. And, I don't think I'll run out of stories for a while, but when I do, then I plan to eventually interview some other veterans, maybe a police officer. My brother is serving right now, and, I have military in my family, so it'll be a while before I run out of stories, but at some point, I'll start getting the stories of other people. And so that's what you can expect from this channel. Military stories, tips, advice, combat stories. And I appreciate you following along. We've gained some subscribers now. I appreciate every single one of you. I've asked questions on the community tab and people have answered. They've given me ideas of videos to do. And, coming in the next couple of weeks, I plan to do like a rifle marksmanship one. I want to do one talking about myself and my life because I was an Army brat. I moved around a lot as a child, and so I lived in a lot of different places, and it's kind of a unique childhood. So if you wanted to hear how I grew up and the different places I lived, we'll go over that. I finally got a new microphone, so hopefully the audio is a little better. Still not sure where to put it, but hopefully the audio is a little better now. And so now we'll get into the story. So this story takes place in Iraq, 2008-ish time frame, and it was a massive raid that our whole company was involved in. So normally when we did raids, we would attack an objective house, and if it was on like a busy street with multiple houses, then we would raid the house to the left of it, the house to the right of it, and the target house. And the reason for that is that in the city, a lot of the rooftops were the same level, and these guys would run up to the rooftop as fast as possible, and then they could like hop rooftops to run away. It happened to us a lot. So what we adapted and what we started doing was we would, raid all three houses at the same time. So if once the fastest guy would try and get through the door and to the stairs and to the roof so that we could catch any guys running along the rooftops. So that was typically how we did raids. For this day, it was a little bit different. It was during the day, the middle of the day, and it was going to be at a mosque in the middle of a marketplace. So normally our raids were at night. We would do raids at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And usually they'd be like platoon size or company size, depending on how big the target was. So if it was like a mid to low level target, we might just go with just a platoon, a team of like 30 guys, 4 or 5 trucks, and we would hit a few houses. But if it was like a bigger target where, we were expecting a gunfight, or if there was more than one guy to capture that night, then we would do, more people would come. We'd have like a couple platoons, and usually like our whole company would go on this raid. And so that way we could hit multiple houses at once and have security set up. So for this raid, it was during the day at noon. We heard that there was this marketplace, like this market where they sold and bought food, meat, different things in this market. And in the very middle of it, they had a mosque. And we got intelligence that there was a lot of higher up bad guys that were meeting at this mosque every day, a certain day of the week, like a Thursday at like noon. These guys were meeting at the same place every week. And so our commander came up with this plan that we're going to raid this marketplace, this mosque in the middle of the day. And it's going to be a company-wide effort. We're going to have everybody come with us. We're going to have all the platoons and we're going to surround this marketplace and detain everybody that we can. And so normally we did raids at night, not during the day. So this is going to be a little bit more sketchy because the enemy at nighttime, they don't have night vision. And that's why we do raids at night, because we can sneak around better. If we get in engagements, then they have less of a chance of being accurate with their fire. So normally we don't do raids during the day. So this was unusual. But I remember that day we were like, all right, dude, this is a big one. We had the brief and the commander was briefing all the lieutenants, and the lieutenants would brief their guys. And they're like, dude, make sure you bring extra ammo. Bring as much as you can. Let's fill the trucks. And I remember like that morning, I was like packing. Normally you would have like on my vest, my bulletproof vest, we had like a rig system, and you would carry usually like 6 magazines, 2, 4, 6, and then 1 in your weapon. So like 7 magazines, 30 rounds, that's like 210 rounds. They were like, bring extra. This might be a crazy firefight. If stuff breaks out, we could be there a while and it could be a heavy fight. So I remember guys were like putting magazines in their pockets and stuff, and like putting stuff in the trucks for backup. And we were thinking that this was going to be a big fight. Like this was going to be a big deal. I remember prepping and loading up extra magazines in our pockets and stuff. So then once we were ready, they're like, all right, I want everybody outside, stays in their truck, before 12, before our expected departure time, everybody get out to the trucks and stage and be ready. So I remember we went outside and we were in the trucks. All the trucks were running. We were in our small patrol base this time. This was my second deployment, and we were on a small patrol base in the south, well, kind of middle Baghdad, southwest side. We were in between the Baghdad airport and the green zone on the south side. So we had all our trucks staged at the gate, getting ready to go, and we just had to wait on the word. We were waiting on the commander. He was still inside, and he was on the radios with like battalion, other assets, and making sure we had the moment when we knew we could go. And one thing that we had at that time that, at the time was classified, which I can say now, is that we had an aircraft that would jam all the cell phones in the area. So that's one thing we were waiting on. We had a slight delay because we were waiting on a certain aircraft that could come in. And as soon as we were driving to the objective, as soon as we left the gate, we wanted this aircraft to fly above and jam all the radio cell phone signals in the area. So that way that they wouldn't get a call like, hey, something's going on. There's stinking 20 trucks leaving out of the base and they're all headed this way, and then they could alert the bad dudes that we were coming. So that's one of the cues we were waiting on, was that this air asset was going to be on site to block all the cell phone signals. So we had that, and then we were also having air support that could also watch from above and be of assistance firing on bad guys too if needed. So we were just waiting on the final word to be able to leave the base. So finally we got word that we were good to go. So I remember we left the patrol base and we were flying towards the objective, and we had like music playing, we had headsets on in our headsets that we could talk to each other inside the truck. And then somebody always had like music playing, to get everybody all hyped up, pumped up. And so we're heading towards the objective. Now remember, this is hot out. It's middle of the day, and we're all excited. We're like, dude, this is gonna be crazy, because we just knew it was gonna be a bigger raid, that we were gonna take down some high level people. So we split off. So we rode together, and then all of a sudden one platoon went one direction with like 3 or 4 trucks, another platoon went another direction, and this was like a triangle looking marketplace. And so what we wanted to do was have somebody on each corner, and then we were going to flood in and surround everybody there. So I remember we get to they say over the radio, all right, we're getting close to the target block, get ready. And so for this specific raid, we were riding into MRAPs. I'll show what one of those looks like, but it has like a ramp on the back, and it can fit like 6 guys in it. And that's why we took this vehicle, because normally we would use Humvees to drive around in. But at this time, we wanted to use the MRAPs because we could fit more people in the back. And this was like, a company raid. We had more people with us than normal, and we needed to fit all these guys in the back. So we're riding in the MRAP, and so we get close to the target block, and I remember they lowered down the ramp. And as soon as the ramp started lowering, all this dust is flying in the truck, and they're like, "All right, dismount, go, go, go!" So like guys run. I remember like the first guy almost like fell down the stairs. We were like rushing and kind of excited, but like fell down as someone picked him up. And we come running around this. We stopped around the edge of the corner of the marketplace, and I remember coming. We were at like the high ready, running around into this marketplace, and I remember the panic and fear of everybody's face. Like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, 100 soldiers are running in from every direction. And this marketplace probably had 150 to 200 people, men, women, children. They're just shopping. They're just going about their daily activities. Like they don't really know that anything is coming. They're not expecting anything out of the ordinary. So we were told to let children and women pass by us, but any military aged male, which is 18 or older, that could be a suspect, we want them to push back to the center towards the mosque. And then we were going to gather everybody up at the mosque. So we're coming through, we're yelling, we're like, go, like the women and children are like, Imshi, get out of here, Imshi, and they're screaming, you're like, nah, and we're like, get out of here, and like, we're like shoving people past us, and I remember I had my gun like this, and people are running at us, and I'm like grabbing a lady, shoving her to the side, and then if there's a dude, I'm like, no, you turn around and go that way, and we're like shoving people back that way, pushing people this way, and then we just like branched off, and it's just like scattering like ants, like people are just running everywhere, just like pure chaos. And you can hear like screams and shots going off, and already there's like some guys are getting engaged on the far end, like guys are shooting at them, trying to distract them from what we're doing. And I remember me and my team leader, we had come around this corner, and now we like got into an area of the market. We were by ourselves, and I remember coming up to like a goat that was hanging upside down and was wiggling. They had like just cut the goat's throat, and the blood is pouring all over the ground. And there's meat on the ground. There's people all over the place. There's blood on I got blood all over my boots from walking through it. But they were just, that's how they do it there. They would cut up animals in the market, and, right in the middle of the market. Hang on one second. They would cut up animals right there in the market, butcher them up, and buy them. That's just how people did things there. So I remember, like I said, one goat's throat just got cut, and we're like running through blood. And our objective was to get to, once we had pushed everybody in, then we were going to take overwatch security on a certain building. So me and my team leader come running through, and I remember as we're like passing a couple cars that were parked there, a couple shots started hitting the ground right in front of us, and they started kicking a crack, crack, crack. And I'm like, I said to my sergeant, I was like, hey, they're shooting at us. He's like, I know, Larry, I know. And he's like, just keep running. And he saw by the window, and right when he looked up, he took a couple shots at the window where some guy was just like leaning out the window, did a spray of his AK, and he was right in front of me, and he did a couple shots back, and I was about to, but he just kept pushing. He's like, we're going left. I watched the window, like the shutters had closed, and I didn't see anything to shoot at. I'm not going to shoot unless I have positive ID on something, but he did. He took a couple shots at that window. That must have got the guy to duck. But I just remember they were cracking on the ground right in front of me. And that's like one of the first times I heard like the snaps of rounds right by me. And I said to my sergeant, he's like, yeah, I know, let's go. Like he didn't even give a crap. And so we kept running to the spot we were supposed to get to this building. And we like push up to the top of this building. And so we had pushed all the guys in the center, all the women and children out. And now in the mosque in the center, there was like 100 dudes. No, over 100 guys, because I know that for a fact that we took over 100 guys. So when I said originally there was 150 people, well, there probably was double that, because we let a lot of women and children go by, and we ended up with like over 100 guys that we brought back to our base. So we corralled them into the mosque, and then we wanted to go set up our security position. So we finally got set up on that rooftop we were supposed to be at. I mean, we linked up with a couple of our guys. There was like 2 guys missing. We had they must have got lost in the chaos. But it was me and my team leader and like 2 other guys on top of this rooftop. And I remember like we're getting up there, all the chaos is happening behind us. A different squad and or platoon was handling the guys right now. We were part of an Overwatch. Once we pushed everybody, we were setting up Overwatch. Other teams were setting up Overwatch, all on a perimeter around the market. And then there was another platoon that was in the mosque starting to like detain guys, blindfold, detain one by one, every single one of them. And I remember we were up there on the rooftop and we kept getting pop shots all over the place. Like 2 blocks that way, some guy would shoot like a burst down an alley. And we're like, oh, where's that coming from? And then like one guy would like shoot over, and we're like, where, we're looking, we're like, I don't see him anymore. And we'd call up the air asset, like, hey, we're taking fire from this direction. And they're like, all right, we'll watch. And then 20 minutes later, we go by, we hear shots again, like, we're like, where's that coming from? I mean, that's the game, man, over there, is that they would take pop shots at us all the time, and you rarely had a target to shoot at, or at least we didn't. These guys, they didn't want to fight us head on. They just wanted to do this, these tactics. But what they were wanting us to do is they wanted us to chase after them. So they shoot couple shots over there, and then they want us to like fall down or collapse where we're at and go chase after them. And then that way that they could get some of their guys out or something. But so they started corralling the guys, and then we had started to have like LMTVs come in, which is like troop carrier vehicles. And we started transporting these guys, all the military age males, we were transporting them back to our patrol base. And we were there for hours. We probably got there like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we stayed until dark. And while we were up there, I was like, I'm going to go search the house downstairs to see if there's any weapons or anything. So me and a buddy, we went downstairs in the house, and I flipped the couch over, and the stitching of the bottom of the couch, we found a couple AKs and a RPG round, and I found munitions in that house, which, we ended up just throwing them in our truck and bringing them back with us. But so one by one, we had trucks shipping all these guys back to our base. They would blindfold them, and they would tie their zip cuff them to bring them back to our base, because we didn't want them knowing exactly our base setup. So they would blindfold them to go into our base and into the back part, and then they would most guys were kept blindfolded the whole time. But so we brought all these dudes back from the mosque. And like I said, we had over 100 guys that we brought back. And, we didn't take any significant injuries. It was pretty much a success because, we took some shots, and but nobody got hurt significantly. And we detained over 100 guys, and we brought them back to our base. So then we had like these retina scanner things. I forgot what they're called, hide system or something. But then we were tasked with going through, and we would scan every single one of them. They're getting a retinal scan, and we could find out if any military person has ever encountered this guy before and taken a scan. And if not, then we were taking a scan. And then after that, we were finding out if we had any packets on them, like intel packets that had information that they had attacked Americans before or coalition forces. And if they were a bad dude, then we were going to send them away to, to one of our bigger prisons. So we kept them there the next couple days, these over 100 guys, processing them all. And out of that 100 something guys, there was like 32 dudes that were bad enough to send to jail or whatever for a long time. 30 something guys out of all that. And it was a huge success. And then once we were done, we fed them and stuff. So there was more detainees than we had soldiers at our base. We only had like 110 soldiers in our little patrol base. And with all the detainees, there was more of them than there was of us. But of course, we had weapons and we outnumbered them. But it was kind of crazy. All these dudes we had back there, they all had to go to the bathroom. They all were hungry. They all needed water. But we would go around and give them water and give them food. And, we treated them fairly. We treated them how they should be treated. And if you weren't bad, if you had never attacked American forces, then we let them go. So then the next couple of days, once we were done, we drove them all back to where we got them from and dropped them all back off. And their family would come up screaming and crying. They thought we were like taking them away to kill them or something. Like, dude, if you're not bad, you're not shooting at us. We're not going to do anything to you. And but yeah, over 30 high value dudes that were, I would say half were like high value. The rest were just local level militia that were bad. And that really changed. After that, we started getting mortared a lot less. Our base got attacked a lot less. So we took out a good chunk of bad dudes. And so that was just one raid I thought was a cool story. It was a pretty big raid. We got a lot of big dudes. And, I have a lot of other raids that I'll tell in shorter clips. This is only going to be like a 10, 15-minute clip. But there was another one where we caught a bunch of dudes on a bridge and dusted off with helicopters, and guys ran, and we had to chase them down while the helicopters dusted them off. And then there was another one where we hit like an Al-Qaeda farm, and they had all these fighting positions set in, and we hit them in the middle of the night. And I remember that I was running through this field and like shot a flare up to light up the field, and it was like a movie. And we had a AC-130 marking a target with the infrared where the guys are scattering off to. So I'll do another video about a couple more raids sometimes if you guys like this story. And I'm also going to do like a rifle marksmanship soon, and then a video about me soon. So I hope you guys liked the video. If you enjoyed the video, just hit the like button, please. Subscribe if you haven't. And I hope you guys have a good week. Take care. God bless.